The scent of jasmine and expensive champagne still hung heavy in the humid air of the Savannah estate. My granddaughter, Sophia, had just married Arthur, a man whose smile never quite reached his eyes. It was supposed to be the most beautiful night of her life, a grand celebration at a colonial-style mansion. But at 2 a.m., the dream turned into a cold, sharp nightmare. I was in the bridal suite, helping a sleepy Sophia out of her heavy lace gown, when a frantic pounding shook the mahogany door. Before I could reach it, Julian, my son-in-law, burst in. His face was the color of ash, and his tuxedo was torn at the shoulder. He didn't look like the confident businessman I knew. He looked like a man who had seen the devil. He didn't say a word at first, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Julian thrust a thick manila envelope into my hands. I could feel the bulk of cash inside. "Beatrice, take Sophia and the boy. You have to leave. Right now. Don't go to the main gate. Use the servants' tunnel behind the kitchen," he whispered, his eyes darting to the hallway. "Julian, what is this? Where is Arthur?" I asked, my heart hammering. He grabbed my wrists, his grip bruising. "Arthur is not who we think he is. If you stay, none of you will see tomorrow. Run through the window if you have to. Just go," Julian hissed as footsteps echoed in the corridor. Without another word, he pushed us toward the back exit. I didn't hesitate. 50 years of living through the hardships of the South had taught me that when a man looks that terrified, the danger is real. I grabbed Sophia, who was still in her silk slip, and my grandson's hand. We climbed through the window just as the door behind us was kicked open. We ran into the thick, moss-draped woods of Georgia. Behind us, the lights of the mansion flickered and went out, plunging the estate into a terrifying darkness. I could hear dogs barking in the distance, Arthur's hunting hounds. My legs ached and my breath burned, but I didn't stop. I knew every inch of these woods from my childhood. We weren't just running from a wedding. We were running for our lives from a powerful predator. We fled through the Georgia swamps until the mansion lights were tiny sparks. Sophia stumbled, her silk slip torn by branches, her face a mask of disbelief. "Grandma, why does Arthur want to hurt us? He loves me," she sobbed. I didn't answer. I had known Arthur for only 6 months, but his manners were too perfect. At 73, I had seen enough wolves in sheep's clothing to know that something rotten lay beneath his wealth. We reached an old hunting cabin hidden in the thicket. There, by the light of a single candle, I opened the envelope Julian gave us. Inside were cash, old newspaper clippings, and a USB drive. The clippings were 10 years old from another state. They showed a younger Arthur under a different name. The headline read, "Heiress disappears after wedding, husband declared sole beneficiary." A chill ran down my spine. Sophia was his next target. "Look at this, Sophia," I whispered, showing her the articles. She covered her mouth to stop from screaming. In that moment, the distant sound of an engine echoed. Arthur wasn't going to let us go. He knew Julian had talked, and now he had to eliminate all witnesses. Julian was his business partner, whom Arthur had blackmailed for years. But for Julian, an attempt on his own daughter's life was the final breaking point. I knew we couldn't stay put. I pulled an old phone from my pocket and dialed Caleb's number. "Caleb, it's Beatrice. We need a safe haven. He's coming for us, and he has people." Caleb, a retired detective who once owed me his life, replied shortly, "Go to the old lighthouse on Tybee Island. I'll be there in an hour." We slipped out of the cabin a minute before Arthur's black SUVs surrounded it, crushing the bushes. We drove Julian's old pickup truck, which he had hidden for us in the woods. Sophia sat beside me, clutching the USB drive. "Everything is on here, Grandma." Julian collected evidence for years, hoping to be free. Recordings, accounts, names of other women. I watched the road, my old hands gripping the wheel. Arthur thought he was dealing with scared women, but he forgot I was a frontline nurse. I had looked death in the face before. When we reached the lighthouse, the fog was so thick the world seemed to vanish. The lighthouse beam cut through the gloom like a cold blade. Caleb was already there, his silhouette with a shotgun providing a sense of calm. But our relief was short-lived. In the rearview mirror, I saw two bright beams of light. Arthur had found us. He stepped out of his car, adjusting his tie as if he were still at the wedding. Arthur stood in the circle of his headlights, his calmness more terrifying than any rage. "Beatrice, you were always too curious for your own good," he said, stepping forward. Caleb raised his shotgun. "One more step, son, and the honeymoon ends in the morgue," the old detective growled. Arthur stopped, but a sinister smirk appeared on his face. He knew something we didn't. He hadn't come alone. Figures began to emerge from the fog mercenaries he had hired for the dirty work. Caleb fired into the air to scare them, but they just spread out, surrounding the lighthouse. We were trapped. The only way to safety was the old spiral staircase leading to the top. I grabbed Sophia's hand and pulled her up the cold steps. Every step pained my knees, but fear for my granddaughter gave me strength. At the top, the wind roared, mixing with the sound of the surf. Sophia trembled, clutching the USB drive like a lifeline. "Grandma, we won't make it," she whispered. I looked into her eyes. "Listen to me, Sophia. In this life, it's not the strongest who wins, but the one ready to go to the end. Your father sacrificed himself to give us this chance. We have no right to fail him." At that moment, the door below shuddered from a heavy blow. While Caleb held them off below, I acted. I knew the lighthouse still had an old radio station. Using my nursing skills, I knew how to transmit SOS signals. But I didn't just want rescue. I wanted the world to see Arthur's face. I connected Julian's drive to the old transmitter Caleb had modernized. We needed only 10 minutes for the files to begin uploading to the state police cloud storage. Arthur began to climb. His steps on the iron stairs sounded like hammer blows on a coffin. "Sophia?" he called with fake tenderness. "Come out, and I promise your grandmother won't be hurt. I just need the drive." Sophia looked at me, a moment of doubt in her eyes. I shook my head. We both knew that as soon as he got what he wanted, we would become useless baggage to be thrown into the ocean. The progress bar crawled forward. 60%, 70%. From below, the sounds of struggle and Caleb's shouts reached us. Then, a silence fell that was scarier than any noise. The door to the observation deck creaked. Arthur appeared, his suit stained with dust, clutching an elegant pistol. "Time's up, Beatrice," he said, aiming at me. Suddenly, a bright spotlight hit the lighthouse Coast Guard helicopters had arrived. The helicopter's searchlights blinded Arthur, and for a moment, I thought justice had won. State police surrounded the lighthouse and handcuffs clicked onto Arthur's wrists. But as they led us to the cars, I saw him whisper something to an officer who gave a slight nod. My heart sank. In Savannah, Arthur's money and connections ran deeper than the roots of old oaks. I realized the arrest was not the end, but the start of a deadlier game. We were taken to the station, but instead of taking statements, they separated us. Sophia was taken to an interrogation room, while I was left in a hallway watched by a cold-eyed officer. An hour later, Mr. Sterling, Arthur's expensive lawyer, walked in with a triumphant smirk. Soon, I heard shocking news. The files on the drive were declared illegally obtained, and Caleb was charged with assaulting peaceful wedding guests. "Beatrice, they framed him," Sophia whispered when we were finally allowed to see each other. Her eyes were red from crying. Arthur was released on bail just 3 hours later. He didn't just leave. He filed a countersuit claiming I kidnapped his wife due to senile dementia. It was a brilliant and vile move. If a court found me incompetent, Sophia would stay under Arthur's guardianship, and the drive would be dismissed. We had 48 hours until the preliminary hearing. We couldn't go home, the estate was now Arthur's. We hid in a small motel on the edge of town. Caleb, under house arrest, managed to send me a coded note. Find the woman from the clipping. Margaret, she is alive. It was our only chance. If I found Arthur's former wife, whom everyone thought was dead, his empire of lies would finally crumble. All night I studied old archives while Sophia slept on a pile of newspapers. I found a small farm in South Carolina bought in Margaret's maiden name. At 4 a.m., we left. I felt a black sedan following us. Arthur knew I wouldn't give up, and his people were breathing down our necks. The road through the foggy pine forests seemed endless, and time was working against us. When we reached the farm, a woman stepped onto the porch. Her face was lined with scars, and her eyes glowed with quiet pain. It was Margaret. When she saw Sophia in her wedding slip, she understood everything. "Did he do the same to you?" she asked. At that moment, the black sedan screeched to a halt at the gate. Arthur stepped out. He was no longer smiling. He had a gun, and this time, he wasn't waiting for the police. Arthur stood by the garden gate, looking out of place in his tailored suit among rusted tractors. "Margaret," he said calmly, still hiding in the dirt. Margaret stepped forward, her scarred face hardening. "I'm not hiding anymore, Arthur. I was waiting. I knew another girl would eventually show up at my door, or your grave would." Arthur raised the pistol at my chest. "Give me the drive, and perhaps I'll let Sophia live." "There is no backup drive here, Arthur," I lied, stepping in front of the girls. "I've already sent the location of this farm to Caleb's contacts. The police are 10 minutes away." Arthur's eyes twitched. The cool facade was cracking. He knew that if Margaret testified, no amount of bribes could save him. He lunged forward, grabbing Sophia by the arm and using her as a human shield. "Then we're leaving. Now." Margaret didn't hesitate. She grabbed a heavy iron fire poker from a log by the porch. With a scream of decades-old rage, she swung at Arthur. The blow caught his shoulder, sending the pistol skittering across the dirt. Sophia broke free and dove toward the porch. Arthur roared, reaching for the gun, but I was already there. My old knees screamed in protest, but I kicked the weapon into the deep, dark waters of the farm's well. We scrambled into the farmhouse and barred the heavy oak door as Arthur threw himself against it. "I will kill you all!" he screamed, his voice like a cornered animal. Inside, Margaret led us to a trapdoor in the kitchen. "The cellar leads to the barn," she whispered. As we crawled through the dark earth, I realized Arthur's greatest mistake. He underestimated the strength of women who had survived him once before. We emerged in the barn just as sirens began to echo through the valley. Arthur was still at the front door, unaware we had escaped. But he wasn't alone. 3 black sedans, his mercenaries, pulled into the driveway. They didn't care about the police. They were there to finish the job. I looked at Margaret and Sophia. "We have to hold them off for 5 minutes," I said. "Just 5 minutes." As Arthur's mercenaries surrounded the barn, the morning silence exploded with the roar of helicopters. Caleb had contacted federal marshals directly. Arthur tried to flee, but Margaret cut him off. He fell into the mud, his expensive suit ruined just like his reputation. This time, his connections couldn't save him. The charges of attempted murder and the testimony of his resurrected first wife were undeniable. The trial lasted nearly a year. Every day I sat in court holding Sophia's hand. Arthur tried to play the victim, but when Margaret revealed the scars he left her 10 years ago, even his lawyer looked away. Arthur was sentenced to life without parole. All his accounts were seized, and his assets were used to compensate the women whose lives he had destroyed. Justice was finally served. Julian, my son-in-law, received a suspended sentence for cooperating. He lost his business, but regained his daughter's respect. He moved into a small house near us and now volunteers his time. Caleb was fully exonerated and returned to duty as a consultant. We often gather on his porch, listening to the ocean and drinking iced tea, knowing the greatest victory is the peace in our own souls. Sophia and I returned to our old home. We sold the luxury estate and opened a foundation to help women escaping domestic violence. Margaret became the manager. She no longer hides on a farm. She uses her strength to give others hope. Sophia finished her studies and became a lawyer. She is no longer the scared girl in a silk slip. She is a protector who knows the high price of truth. I am 74 years old now. My bones ache before the rain, but my spirit has never been stronger. I watch my great-grandson playing in the garden and know I protected his future. Our story, which began with betrayal, became a legend of resilience. We proved that even when an enemy seems all-powerful, one determined woman can change the course of history. In the evening, as the Savannah sun turns the sky crimson, I close my diary. There are no more secrets to hide in envelopes. We live openly and honestly. I know that when my time comes, I can leave in peace, knowing I did my duty. We survived that night to tell this story, and now it belongs to everyone seeking justice. The light of the Tybee Lighthouse still shines, reminding us that darkness never truly wins.